Hello, BookTube. Well, we're back for another Stevestream until 10 past the hour, so we just have 8 minutes to go. I want to check how everything looks here. What is this? Why is there a shadow there? Can we get rid of that? No, what is that shadow doing there? Guess maybe that's the way the light falls. This doesn't look so bad. I checked my volume ahead of time. That's why I was a minute late, because I have to check my volume every time I make any kind of a video. But here I am. And the Stevestream was supposed to be about reading. At least the initial throat clearing until anybody gets here was supposed to be about reading. My reading has been fantastic all day. It has actually been fantastic all year. It took a bit of a body blow last year. I don't think it'll be any real. I didn't talk about it on this channel, but I don't think it'll be any real surprise to most of you ardent channel watchers to know that Frida had serious health problems last year, and that is one of the only things that is guaranteed to make me not want to read, not just not be able to read, but not want to read, and that is thankfully no longer an issue this year. So my reading has been fantastic this year, and it's it's got me thinking. It's got me thinking about the paradigms that rule our reading, that rule all our readings. I always say we all have our own bailiwicks. We make them, and we might call ourselves, I'm an LOL so random reader, but that becomes a bailiwick of its own. We all have described borderlines of our reading, of the kind of reader that we are, and the kind of reading that we do. And I, forever and ever, for a long, long, long time, many, many, many decades, my bailiwick has been new releases in the American book market. Once I, eons and eons ago, realized that I could get them without going into a bookstore and bankrupting myself to buy them, or waiting a year to see them at the library. Once I started publishing book reviews and being a book section editor, and realized that there is a small but thriving ecosystem for such professionals, and that I could get all these books, as many as I want, as many as I could possibly read. Well, then I started doing that, and I just kept doing that. Even through the dry years when I was a bookseller, I still kept doing that. And I don't know. I don't know if it's just a little bit of creeping disillusion with how bad a year 2025 posted for new releases, seen in general. I mean, there were great highlights. There were fantastic highlights, but it was a lousy year. And I don't know if it's that's making me think, maybe instead of it being 90-10 new releases and then secondary stuff, rereads, older books, Brattle finds, that maybe it should be 50-50. Part of me thinks that, and then part of me wonders, well, is that pernicious, that you don't want to? I am not retired, and I don't want to be, not in the mental sense of the term. So I don't really know. It's an odd kind of gear shifting thought to have while my reading is so good. My reading this year has been so good. I am exceeding all my expectations. Not that matters, since apparently there are some people online who think it's a well-known fact that I don't read any of the books that I talk about. It's just, I think we can all agree that Steve Donahue doesn't read the number of books that he says he does. Since that's apparently a well-known fact, I guess I'm agonizing for nothing. But anyway, that was the only throat clearing that I had, was about the shape of my reading, not what reading I'm doing, because my reading is fantastic. I am absolutely loving it, but the shape of it. Should I be chasing after every new release, or is it maybe time not to? The only thing, well, there are a number of things that stop me from wanting to make that change. I'm bottomlessly curious. That stays true. I'm endlessly curious about what new is coming out. New and also repackaged old, trends in translation, all my subjects. But also, I don't know of any other single individual that does what I do, in the English language anyway. And I would hate, I don't know. It's not really weighing much on my mind, because the reading is so much fun. The reading last night was going like gangbusters, and was stopped only because there was a period around I'd say between 2 and 3 in the morning, when I was actually worried about the structural integrity of Hyde Cottage. That's how bad the winds were. strong wind gusts had been predicted, but the wind gusts that ended up happening late at night and lasting until just before dawn were much stronger than anticipated, much stronger than forecast, which usually doesn't happen. Usually, weather forecasts exaggerate for clicks. They don't downplay for clicks. So that there came a point for about an hour where I just put the Kindle down and just sat there listening to feeling the whole house rattle back and forth on its foundations, feeling all this is such an old place that a strong wind, something over 40 miles an hour, goes right through the house like there weren't walls. You feel like you're in an exposed heath. Uh, that's wild. I've never experienced anything like that in Boston. Uh, but and then I resumed reading all for the rest of the pre-dawn, then all morning long, then all the mid-morning, then all the late morning. It was only later in the day that I made myself make videos and promise a Stevestream. So here I am. So let's see what the chat has to say. Now I'm seeing that 5 people are here, but I'm seeing a lot more than that in the comments. So I'm probably reading that wrong. So let's see what the chat has to say until 10 past the hour. Arbutus is first. Did you watch Michael Martin, Ireland's prime minister, in the White House today? If so, what did you think of the way he dealt with Trump's nonsense and lies? I watched it and I hated it. I hated it. The humoring of this monster, the humoring of this gibbering, slopping, slurping child, needing in every other sentence to say, you do a great job, you do a fantastic job. The miracle here is that you could maybe even do a greater job. And also how contemptuous he was just sitting there listening to this guy. You could see in that tiny little pea brain of his all the times when he was thinking of insults. It was just, I hated it. I saw it and I hated it. Let's see here. That Hebrew call is back, and I'm glad to see you, because I might be imagining this, but it occurred to me that the last time we did a live stream, you were asking a bunch of great questions, as you always do, and you asked a question about you made a comment about uh, uh, how much heavy lifting the word Zionist is doing in modern discourse, and how most of the young people who use it online don't know what it means. And I responded, I wasn't attacking you. I responded by saying that how little it matters in the face of Israel's crimes, the government of Israel. And it seemed to me, I could be remembering this wrong, that you left the chat after that, and I was afraid that I'd offended you. So I'm glad to see you back. Hope you are well. Hope you are doing well. You're fired. Was Genghis Khan truly evil, or just a misunderstood figure in history? He was truly evil. California says, yay, a new Stevestream. Yes, indeed. Drink it up until 10 past the hour. Groiper, 2007. Great. Should change that name. Should change that handle. Why the F you say all that about Hitler? Okay, so you're on brand. Don't come back. No other comments, not one more. Talon Tanky says, hi, Steve. Are you excited for the new Douglas Stewart book releasing in May called John of John? Are there any similar authors you'd recommend for someone who really likes his novels? Well, I was excited for John of John. I read it. I thought originally when I read about it, I thought, okay, well, this is the pernicious disease of 21st century fiction. It's 90% gimmick. It shouldn't be. It should be 90% craft, storytelling, plot, progression of the plot, catharsis, and maybe 10% gimmick, maybe as much as 30% gimmick, but not 90% gimmick. So where are you going? You're going not to, a normal track house in the suburbs. No, you're going to the Outer Hebrides. And who are you going to meet there? Well, your father isn't just an ordinary shopkeeper, or, the sub-manager of a Microsoft firm that's located in Angola. No, he's a crofter and a thatcher and a sheep farmer. And what about the other strain of the Outer Hebrides, the fire-breathing Calvinist Scotch? Well, yeah, you got her too. Just, I rolled my eyes, I guess. When I first heard about the plot, I thought, okay, well, you're a talented writer, so I don't know why you would give yourself so much stuff to rise above when you don't need to. Why make problems for yourself? This stuff, all these gimmicks are all encrusted in cliches. And why do that when you don't need to? And I read it and I really liked it. It's really, really good. So, I mean, the gimmicks are still there. It's just, but anyway, you asked similar authors. I have no idea what you mean in terms of similar. I have no idea what you mean. I guess the natural response to make here would be John Boyne, anything but Ocean Vuong. But I don't know if he would. If I don't know what elements you want to be similar. Okay, you're back, Steve. Do you plan on doing any more Irish stews, or has the world news slash American news got to the point where there isn't any point? Partly that I should still do them because you all really enjoy them and I really enjoy them. Partly it's that because, like I mentioned in the last one, I think the last one that I did, the thing that you confront when you assemble an Irish stew video is just simple black and white state lying, just states telling lies. Now I know there will be people who say that states have always done that. Okay, fine. But in the age of instantaneous communication, it somehow feels worse. Well over 1,000 U.S. servicemen and contractors have become casualties in this war. Well over 1,000 killed and wounded, probably closer to 2,000. And what are the numbers that you are hearing in the news? Well, Israel's not saying anything because they blanked out all of their news, and America is saying something preposterous like 15. What are you going to do when the nation is just doing that? When the Secretary of Defense is getting up on the podium, incredibly, I would estimate incredibly high on Zinn, uh, and saying that we've got them all but defeated. When he knows as well as anybody that he can call up on his phone instantaneous, contemporaneous video footage that shows that's not true. What are you supposed to do with that? I don't know. I don't have any idea. And then there's the subject, the whole subject of Israel, which is being pounded by artillery and not admitting it. So I should do more. I could vary them up. I could definitely vary them up. Especially, I could vary them up if, like, for instance, I had an outside extra workload that required me to decrease the number of videos I do every day. In which case, maybe an Irish stew video that pulls together all the different events, all the recent readings, all the responses to YouTube, all in one video, so that at least we get that if we don't get anything else. But I don't know. But I should do it. Although one of you pointed out, actually a couple of you pointed out in my emails that one thread of my Irish stews from a couple of years ago has disappeared. And that is true. I was waiting for someone to notice. Years ago, a couple of years ago, for better part of 10 years, I would end perorations on modern day events by saying you should emigrate from the United States if you live here. And I don't say that anymore. And that's very conscious. I don't say that anymore because it would be pointless. Uh, Gandhi says, thoughts on the allegations that reported that Cesar Chavez was involved in sexual abuse of minors. Uh, no, I don't know anything about that. Sean Patrick says, Steve, you mentioned trying heroin. Yes, I was curious. I kept reading about it and reading about it for decades and decades. Finally, I reached a point where I had a contact at a hospital uh, who could get me heroin and cocaine. I wanted to try both of them. Uh, I know you spent time at Studio 50. I didn't spend time there. I was not a habitué. I cannot imagine Steve Donahue on cocaine. Well, I tried both. Uh, and I was only gonna ever try them once. I have something that you will have to Google if you were born in the 21st century. It's called willpower, so I'm not really addictable. And I wanted to see what the experience of each was like. And I came away with the firm just I came away wondering 2 things: why anyone would ever stop doing heroin, and why anyone would ever start doing cocaine. Cocaine struck me as entirely unpleasant, just completely unpleasant. And heroin is like wrapping yourself in a warm blanket so that nothing in the world gets in, and you don't ever want it to stop. You just want to stay wrapped in a warm blanket. Uh, Sean Patrick is back. Steve, I grabbed a book by Lawrence Sanders from a little free library. I've never read him and wondered if he came with a recommendation from you. No, he does not. He is boring, boring, boring. You should put the book back in the little free library. If you're looking for international thrillers, there are a lot better authors to do. Kay Napolo says, Steve, I visited the Museum of Fine Arts in St. Petersburg, Florida. to see Caravaggio's masterpieces, so powerful in person. They also had a large collection of Roman antiquities. Thought of you. Did you think of me because of my interest in ancient Rome, or because you consider me to be a Roman antiquity? Gandhi says, "Do you recommend Josh Ireland's The Death of Trotsky?" I do. Colombian Hunter says, "I shall listen to this as I eat rice, lentils, and air fried chicken." Hi, Steve. I have an air fryer as well, and I live by it. But you know who doesn't live by your meal? The chicken, which did not say, I'm thinking that Colombian Thunder is hungry, so I'm going to commit seppuku. You had me just fine with rice and lentils. And you know what else was just fine with rice and lentils? Your body was just fine with rice and lentils, maybe an orange, maybe a banana or two, without any chicken, without any dead people, without any dead people at all. Just no dead people in your meal. Morgan says, which of the three live action Spider-Man did you prefer? Can I say none? First, there was a guy who was 40 years old and not right for the role at all. Then they decided to make Spider-Man an annoying emo kid and got a very annoying actor. They wanted to make Spider-Man a bit of an a-hole, and they got an actor who has never been able to hide the fact that in real life he is actually an a-hole. And then they got a Brit. Who isn't good. He's the best of the three, but he's a horrible hammy over actor. I just can I say none, or can I opt for Miles Morales and Into the Spider-Verse? Uh, uh, Gandhi says, "Where's your green shirt? Will you be breaking out the hoodie?" No, I will not. St. Patrick's Day, the theater of St. Patrick's Day is over. It was melancholy theater because I did not go to the parade in Southie. And today's holiday does not have a color scheme. Today's holiday is Evacuation Day, which the rest of the country doesn't know, has never heard about. Most of Boston doesn't know it anymore, has never heard about it, and no one celebrates it. So it doesn't, but it doesn't have a color scheme, so I don't have to worry about it. Steve, have you ever experienced mental fatigue whilst reading? No, 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 not whilst reading, nor whilst doing anything else. Morgan says, "Is there a best year of publication for the Doubleday Sherlock editions?" I don't have any idea what that means. A best year of publication for the Doubleday Sherlock editions. I don't know what that means. Gandhi says, so many good books out this year. Yeah, you're a kidder. Yeah, there've been about 3. Out of the, what is it? Let's see, close to 150,000 that have been published so far this year. There've been 3 that were good. Yeah, so many. MKR says, I should sleep with one eye open. I would sleep with one eye open if I were you. Okay, that sounds like a threat. I don't have any idea what that means, though. The chat is getting away from me here. Manny says, "Do you like the City of Brass? I got it as a gift recently. I do. It's good, very good." You ask, oh no, the chat jumped. I don't know what to call you. The Hebrew tag is what I'm thinking of. Where were you? How's the bean doing? She is, of course, in her position right next to me. She's doing fine. The bookworm says, "Hello, Steve. I just saw that you're live. I am indeed." Sean Patrick says, Steve, you've mentioned in the past seeing people at the Brattle doing something you despise. I'm guessing it's people scanning books with their phones for resale opportunities. Yes. Yeah, it doesn't happen often, but I do see it. Yeah. I want to know what that business of sleeping with one eye open is all about. I'd like to know what that's all about, but I probably never will. Uh, Colombian Thunder says, in the amount of time I think it's taken to read over 100 books, I got only halfway through Dune. Well, you do other things though, and I don't. Although, again, the internet, I guess, is all in unison that I don't. That I lie about how many books I read. Still can't get over that. Ed Wiley says, "Hi, Steve. Do you catch the Dune Part 3 teaser? I know you're not a fan of Tim. I'll be in my trailer, Chalamet, but do you see yourself watching it when the movie comes out?" I will certainly watch it. I did see the trailer, and the trailer is pretty impressive. That humming, ominous musical chanting in the background is pretty effectively ominous. Chalamet's no good. I'm sorry. I mean, I like Marty Supreme, but he's no good in this role. He's I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what to expect of it. I'll be very curious to see, especially how it ends. The trailer specifically says this is the conclusion. But does that mean this is part 1 of the conclusion? I don't know. Uh, Sean Patrick says, Steve, you've made it clear you have an undeveloped green thumb, underdeveloped. Have you ever thought of becoming a cactus guy? I killed a cactus. But I am no longer completely underdeveloped. I have 4 plants that are alive and clinging to life. They have not died. I am caring for them. I have a water container and plant food over there. Uh, Morgan says, Steve, I know the author John Farndon personally. I hope this isn't a have you read given his obscurity, but do you know his work by name? Very prolific science writer, science fiction writer, science writer from England. John Farndon. I don't know that name. No. Matthew Beatty says, I'm a much better reader at night than I am at any other time. I suppose it's just what I'm used to. I've tried to read in the morning and I can't ever seem to focus. I never have any problem with that. Amanda says, Hi, hey, Steve. I am curious if there are any abstract painters whose work you enjoy and any Italian Renaissance deep cut painters and sculptors who you love the work of. There are no abstract painters' work that I enjoy. No. And I don't know what deep cut means in this context. I know you put it in air quotes, so it must mean something, but I don't know what it means, so I don't know how to answer. David Hume says, Hi, Steve. Do you recommend any annotated Sherlock Holmes edition in particular? I like the Baring Gould more than I like the newer one, but they're both great. I've never seen the use of them, though. The problem, I mean, they're fantastic. If you love annotations like this, you're going to sink right into them. Uh, but I get them every once in a while. The Baring Gould will show up at the Brattle, and I will get it. I'll think, you love Sherlock Holmes so much, you really should have the annotated edition right on your shelf there. And I never ever go to it, never. So for me, it's something I could recommend but not own. Gertrude says, Steve, what does it mean for an author to follow their muse, and does it make for the best writing? Is it different from being authentic? No, it's the same thing as being authentic. And it does usually make for the best writing. Yeah. It just means that they're writing for what they want to write rather than what is commercial. Not every author gets to do that. Some authors, from time immemorial for the last 200 years or more, 2000 years, need to write. They don't have any other skills. They can't shovel dirt. So they need to do whatever's commercial to make money to support a family. But if you're in a position where you're free and you're still following the formula, still chasing the market, that's inauthentic, I think, by nature. D. Cox says, why do so many historical novels have women on the cover with their backs turned? It's very curious, I know. And it's a bandwagon thing. Publishing industry with covers like that, they fall into a bandwagon once in a while, and they stick with it for years. Years. The Girl Who, that was years of that. And now this with women, women walking away. It's just utterly ubiquitous, become an in-joke. And yet new authors will do it. They will still allow it to be done. California says, what do you think of Yesterday's Man, The Case Against Joe Biden by Brando Marketic? I have not read this book. I try not to read books under cowardly pseudonyms or by AI. So I have not read it. I haven't even heard of it. Colombian Thunder says, I've also started reading Radcliffe Hall's The Well of Loneliness, and personally, I'm really enjoying. Curious what your thoughts on it are, since I couldn't find a video on it. No, I've never done a video on The Well of Loneliness. I am obviously not its target audience, and I've never really liked it. So I'm glad you are. I don't have anything negative to say about it. Sean Patrick says, I have a big, beautiful hardback of The Once and Future King and a shoddy little mass market of the Book of Merlin. Is there a term for my desire to match these up in the same format? It's killing me. There are terms for it, yeah. But I agree. I guess I agree. California says, is a bridge too far any good? Excuse me? Uh, did you enjoy the film adaptation? What about the rest of Cornelius Ryan? Cornelius Ryan is fantastic, and I love the movie version. Oh my god, loved it. It's a real tough, close call. I know I always say the movie is better than the book, but I love the book. But the movie is fantastic. Oh my. Stephen Newton says, Hi, Steve. I was wondering, do you think there is a war in history that hasn't been given a proper spotlight by a good history book? Well, I don't know what proper spotlight means. Uh, I guess thorough examination, do you mean? I have not seen a satisfactory account of the Iraq War, but that's because 90% of the stuff you would need to do, the documentation has been burned or classified or hidden. But no, it's most of them I find very amply covered. Must read more says, I finished a passage in India today. I liked it, but had a lot of trouble keeping up with the characters constantly changing emotions and opinions towards each other. Well, I'm glad you liked it. Morgan says, do you think Heath Ledger gave a good performance as the Joker? No, no. I know I'm alone in that. Absolutely alone in that, but no. And if not, do you think it was a good performance once removed from the character's qualities? You can't have a good performance of a character if you remove it from the character's qualities. It was Heath Ledger hamming things up, and the director, whatever his name is, saying, "Well, that's what I want. I want the Joker to be pure schmaltz. I want him to be pure ham." In which case, just get Cesar Romero. Why or get a comedy actor. Why pay 12 figures for Heath Ledger when if that's what you're going to reduce the character to? Uh, Sean Patrick says, Steve, it seems that William Manchester mostly writes about modern history. Does he do the usual fantastic job with a world lit only by fire? It's the only book of his that I don't like. And it was a really popular book of his. Really, really had legs. It's short, it's accessible, but I'm not its target audience, that's for sure. Um, let's see. Steve, it's impossible for you to make me upset. It's a dream of mine to meet you someday in person, and one day I certainly will if my house doesn't explode. Well, I'm thinking about your house. Uh, Wine and Calzone says, speaking of new releases, in your professional opinion, what's all the buzz about The Correspondent? I haven't heard the buzz about The Correspondent. Boy, I'm letting the chat down tonight. Dressy Crooner says, spent last month reading Homer's Iliad and Odyssey and Virgil's Aeneid, all the Fagles translation. Loving them. Sadly, you are right about the latter half of the Aeneid. No Dido-like moment. No, there's nothing to pin down the second half, the non-wandering half. There's nothing to pin it down, except style, as one critic immortally put it. That you have this impeccable style, but without that, you don't have anything in the second half of the book. Nothing human. Colombian Thunder says, I would only ever try heroin if I knew I were dying soon. Andrew says, what did you make of Lee and Buscema's How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way? I had a copy forever and ever. I wish I still did. Because it's not like that artwork exists anywhere. And I liked it. It didn't end up being I didn't end up following a lot of it. In my own nightly sketching, I don't do any of the prescriptions that Buscema put in it, but I liked it. Uh, Clanger says, "So true," but I don't know what that's in reference to. Amanda Bryan says, "Do you prefer the haiku of Basho, Busan, Issa? Do you have any other deep cut haiku poets?" Again, with the deep cut, I have no idea what that means. Also, a month from now, April 17th, is the International Haiku Day. Might be a fun day to do a haiku video. I don't have any haiku masters, no. Wine and Calzone says, "If this house is a rockin', don't come a knockin'." Okay, all right. Well, this is gonna be a short chat because I'm letting you down. I don't recognize anything you're talking about, and your comments are incomprehensible to me, and that's not a way to continue. Uh, Although I'm curious to know how many people are here. It seems like there are a lot of comments for a relatively small channel. Uh, Dressy Crooner is back. Despite some kinship with 19th century romantics, I am too much of a tough-minded classicist who likes reality to want to indulge in alcohol or drugs. I'm terrified of losing control. Never tried alcohol or drugs. Wow. Sean Patrick says, Steve, when I see Harvey Korman, I instantly start laughing. Are there any comedic actors who have that effect on you? No, but I smile when I see Harvey Korman. Definitely, same way, same effect. Manny says, have you watched anything good lately, or has it just been books? I recently watched Godzilla Minus Zero based on your recommendation from a while back. Really enjoyed it. I have a bunch of screeners that are stacked up. None of them appeal to me. So I just haven't. I I haven't. When the watching stuff part of my day goes to YouTube, as I imagine a lot of people would say. Cashew Paul says, "Oh no, Cashew Paul made the chat jump." Uh, let's go back to where he was. Uh, where are you? How many people are here? Oh goodness, how many people are here? Uh, Sorry about this. There we go. Hey, Steve, recent subscriber. Love your channel. Well, thank you very much. Sean Patrick says, Steve, how about a Blade Runner era Rutger Hauer as Batman? No. Gandhi says, Banksy is disputing reports that his identity has been revealed as Robert Gunningham. Well, I'll be sure to call the 1990s and let them know since they're the only ones still interested. Coldifornia says, thoughts on the musical 1776? Is that some sort of a joke? I saw the film and was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't Pollyanna. My thoughts on 1776. Are you asking me if I enjoy it? Yes, I enjoy it. If that's what you're asking, to- you could say I enjoy it. And if you'd like, I will start singing it to you. Dressy Crooner says, favorite biography of a composer. No. I know the standard response here is Maynard Solomon's book on Beethoven. I think probably Music for the Castle of Heaven by Gardner about Bach, J.S. Bach. Vintage Smile says, who is your favorite Canadian author? Pierre Burton. Watch It says, hi, Steve. When you famously say a lepa, a pariah, are you mimicking somebody in particular, or is it a Southie accent? Just curious. Hope it's not a personal question. No, it's a Southie accent, yes. Amanda says, do you like the work of Chris Ware, Daniel Clowes, or Art Spiegelman? Not particularly, no. I know they have rabid fans. Uh, uh, not so much Spiegelman, but the other two strike me as very driven by whimsy, have a real short wick when it comes to whimsy. Kay Napolo says 1776, Steve and David Murphy sing the music. We pretty much do. We pretty much do. I mean, honestly, still there are a few things in Boston. uh, let's see here. Dressy Crooner says thoughts on Chalamet's dismissal of opera. He's just a Goomba. He's just a moron kid. He's never been educated. He's never gone to any kind of school. So, you know, I, it's not surprising. The thing that we see these people playing all sorts of different characters on the big screen, we tend to forget they've not had a life. He has never gone to school. He's never had a normal peer relationship, and he never will. So he doesn't know anything about what he talks about. Talon Tanky says, hi, Steve. Do you have any plans for People in April? I did not remember People in April. What is People in April again? What is People in April? Why is it not called People? What's wrong with people and their talent for titling things? Birdell says, went to my first library book sale this weekend, and amongst all the happy book people were some cretins with their phone scanners, and yeah, they're awful. Yeah, as well. Boston Public Library has a book sale every other month that I have gone to forever. I've gone to it since the 1800s, and I don't go anymore because the last time I went, most of the people in the room were book dealers, all being rude at the same time, when it's so easily prevented that I just said, nope, I'm not going to do it anymore. I actually told a friend of mine at the Friends of the Boston Public Library that, I have been coming to these sales. I have been promoting them, meeting people here, advertising, drumming them up, getting people in here, and all that stops now. Until you put a bucket outside the door of the sale room and tell people there to put their cell phones in this bucket. Until you do that, or get the library to turn off Wi-Fi in this room, then I'm not coming back. I'm not going to say anything about it. Nothing at all. It would be easy to fix. Those dealers don't know anything about books. They can't do anything of what they're doing if they don't have their phones. Anyway, uh, Manny says, "What would you like to be? What movie would you like to have won the Oscars for Best Picture? None." Sean Patrick says, "Steve, I think you've mentioned that you think Norman Finkelstein is losing his mind, but I read The Holocaust Industry, and to me, it was very thought provoking. It is. It's a very good book. I mean, really, personally." If you listen to him, maybe it's just the way he speaks. He seems to me, whenever he speaks in public, to be in a protracted dissociative episode, so that he doesn't know where he is, doesn't have any kind of connection with any of the people around him. I, I, I think the same thing about David Frum. Maybe it's just a speaking affect. Maybe it's not him. MKR MVKR says a vid of you talking about him was posted on a website, and now we are coming for you. I don't know what that means. I am not following anything in the chat tonight. Who is him? Who is coming from me? What website? I don't have any idea what any of you are talking about. Again, if you're going to leave a comment like this, contextualize it. Otherwise, what's the point? I can't respond to it if I don't know what you're talking about. Columbian Thunder, anyway, says all the posters for Dune Part 3 advertise the epic conclusion. God Emperor, it seems, will never happen. Well, I wouldn't want God Emperor to happen if it's Chalamet. But is it the epic conclusion or is it part one of the epic conclusion? I don't know. When you present Hollywood with an ability to print money, uh, anyway, Jenny Parks is here. I miss these Steve streams. Thankfully, no work tomorrow, so I can actually hang for the whole stream. Well, the whole stream's not going on for long because it hasn't been all that great a stream. I haven't understood but 1 in 4 comments, and I haven't been able to help anybody. Uh, MVRK has a typo. Some Okie Dude says, hello, Steve. Wasn't expecting a Steve stream. Well, here I am. Sean Patrick says, Steve, I picked up the Tom Calvin's The Last Outlaws about the Dalton gang. I've read very little Western nonfiction. Is this one to recommend? I don't think I know it. Unsurprisingly, for tonight. Sean Patrick says, Tom Clavin, I meant, but you knew that. Yes, and Clavin I know, but I don't know that book. Steve, don't mind the neo-Nazis in the comment section. They're all talk. Do we have neo-Nazis in the comment section? We had one who admitted that he was a Groyper, which means a Nazi. Morgan says, did you ever watch the Cartoon Network animation show Regular Show? No, I did not. Dressy Crooner says, I miss Joe Spivey. So do I. Chuddy Duddy says, which casting decision is worse, Brad Pitt as Achilles or Matt Damon as Odysseus? I'm going to give it to Matt Damon because I think in the weird world of Troy, in the weird world of that movie, Pitt was effective. And there's no way that Matt Damon will be. There's no way that he will be. Kay Napolo says, Steve, I've been running to many little libraries seen in my area, but they are filled with treats and food for dogs. Do you think this inflation is hurting our four-legged friends? Well, I think that's a lot of fun. I don't know about inflation, but I think that's a lot of fun. I think that's people in the neighborhood realizing that most people who go by little free libraries are doing so because they're walking their dog. Certainly that's why I do. There are 4 of them that are on different routes that we take. Brian says, hi, Steve. Loved your video today on the Eye of the World in the middle of the series. Read myself. Do you feel similarly about Erickson's Malazan Book of the Fallen? No. Erickson is very much present as a writer all through Malazan Book of the Fallen. And also, unlike with The Wheel of Time, Malazan Book of the Fallen undergoes a dramatic shift in narrative focus, in narrative heft at book 3. So you're definitely not just coasting on fumes. The way you get at book 6 of The Wheel of Time, you're reading an 800-page book in which literally nothing happens at all. And nothing like that is true with Malazan. Sean Patrick says, Steve, I seem to remember you saying George Eliot had a book that was a bit of a stinker, by her standards, of course. Am I misremembering this? Well, stinker, I don't know. I don't know about a stinker, but there are a couple of her books that are a bit on the staid side. That won't wow you. Transparent in Disguise says, hi, Steve, do you recommend any books about diplomats/ambassadors? Well, yeah. I mean, I've read a lot of memoirs of them that are really good, that I could recommend. Not anything recently, but Steve books, like, for instance, the diary of the memoir of Lars Anderson. And then his wife also wrote a memoir talking about their time, the diplomatic corps 125 years ago. Nothing very recent, no. Cosmic Gaze says, Steve, I don't remember if you've talked about this or not, but given your negative views of the first film, what do you think of Dune Part 2? I had most of the same criticisms of Dune Part 2. It was leaden. And so many of the little things in it were unexplained. Just the little changes to the book were unexplained, or some of the visual flourishes were unexplained. Just the whims of a weird artiste director that distract and bored. So no, I wasn't really, I didn't view it as saving anything from my much maligned review of the first movie. Ziggy says, have you read The Mysteries of Udolpho? Yes, I have. Wine and Calzone says A Bridge Too Far is getting a 4K Blu-ray later in the spring. Older films are really benefiting from these remastered releases. Are they really? What do they do they look better? The films themselves, do they look better? I don't have anything to play them with. But that's curious. That's interesting. Uh, some Okie Dude says, any hints for Epic Comic Book Wednesday tomorrow? This would be a good death, but not good enough. We mustn't remind him that there are giants in the earth. Steve, what are your thoughts on Shackleton Antarctic writings? Is it worth a read? It is, yes. Dressy Crooner says favorite piece by Schubert. At the moment, it is his long cycle of Fair Maid of the Mill. Oh my god. Oh my god. Not that. uh, Call me Ishmael from Iraq. Am lucky to catch up with your live broadcast as we are. We are here for the time being. Sean Patrick says, Steve, I read Sven Hassel's Legion of the Damned and liked it. I found out later people considered him a Nazi sympathizer. Is that true? I believe it's true. Yeah. Oh, the chat jumped. Okay, where did we go? We were Sven Hassel is where we were. Why does the chat jump? That is so annoying. There we go. Okay. Jenny Cable says, I recently read Cal by Bernard McClavery because you recommended it. An Irish books video you did. It was really good. Our other books are good too. They are. Nothing quite approaches Cal. Nothing quite equals it. Just in terms of everything being right, of everything working perfectly. Also, Cal works as a very good counterpoint when some people say that I only like books that are long, and I don't like any short books. I think that I've obviously made it clear that's not true. But then again, according to some people on the internet, I don't read any of the books that I talk about. Yee. Dressy Crooner says, might need to start my own angry incel book event for one, in which I read composer biographies nonstop. Yeah, and what would you call it? What would you call it? You'd come up with a bad name, or you could consult with me, and I would give it a good name. uh, is it? It is good to be watching you live. Greetings from Iraq. Wine Calzone says, "Oh, sorry for the confusion. The House of Rock and Comment was when you told us about your stormy Monday night of reading. Blame the chat lag. I do blame the chat lag. Yeah, it was surreal. It was really surreal." Uh, David Hume says, "Do you like Harvey Peckar's American Splendor comic books? Did you enjoy the film?" What do you think is the answer to that question? Do you think that I like Harvey Pekar? Take a wild guess. Jess Bookgirl TV says, AI's anyone going to BookCon? I'm assuming this means is anyone going to BookCon in New York City in April? Well, I'm certainly not. California says, did you enjoy Mad Max Fury Road? I did. Yeah. MVR says an Arab and okay. All right. All right. Let's get rid of you. Let's see here. Must Read More says, do you have a favorite action writer or one who's the most consistently good? John Mayberry is one of my favorite action writers. Can do a 10-page long scene if he has to, and they'll be great. Also, Lee Child, the early, like the first 10 Reacher books, very good action sequences. Why on earth would I get weird, provocative neo-Nazis? Why? How would they even know this channel exists? Why would they even bother to come into this chat? Sorry. Hegasander says, do you like the writings of Jules Michelet? I do. Morgan says, Joe Spivey never returned after that live stream he did went askew due to small attendance / engagement. Poor English chapster Reno. You don't think he was discouraged by such a thing, do you? Oh, that would be terrible to hear. I should send him an email. Colombian Thunder says, I think it is a tragedy 28 years later, wasn't nominated for anything. Yeah. Eric Taiwan says, how do you handle disagreements with friends? Well, most of my friends aren't human, and we don't disagree about anything ever. But I'm not a good one to ask because I would be willing to bet you're younger than I am, so much younger than I am. The friends that I have now, I'm pretty careful about. I only have the ones around me where I can disagree, where we can disagree without risking anything at all. Uh, Jess Booker TV says, "Is anyone going to BookCon in April?" Oh, right. No, I'm not. I don't know. I don't know what BookCon would be like. I would imagine that a large number of people who are going for free books, and I don't need to do that. So, uh, Sean Patrick says, "I picked up an old hardback of Haggard She printed in art type edition, whatever that is. The title's on the side, upside down. Have you ever seen that before?" It's not ringing a bell. Sounds interesting. Medieval Priest says, "Do you think the time period or era exempts warlords like Genghis Khan from simply being seen as truly evil? Should they be seen as flawed, brutally successful products of their time?" No, truly evil, truly evil, truly evil. Uh, let's see here. David Hume says, "Any news on the great Steve Donahue / Alan Moore interview? Fingers crossed that will happen." It's not gonna. I wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it, but I wouldn't do it. No way. No way. I can't see that it would be anything other than a disaster. Jess Bookgirl TV says, "Steve, what software do you use for live streaming?" I don't know. Am I using software? Um, I don't know. I just use YouTube. What software is that? I'm not aware I'm using any software. Some Okie dude says, "I'd be so jealous if Steve talked to Alan Moore." I don't know what to be jealous about, but I don't think it would work. Uh, Joshua Creepo's here. I have my phone out while book shopping, but only so that I can search up your book reviews on the spot. Cosmic Ace says, "Do you think it's better to ignore shock jocks like Asmongold?" Well, I do, but it's a little late for that since he's got 50 million followers who hang on his every word while his eyebrows are doing that weird thing. A self-evident moron. Self-evident moron. And people hang on his every word. Sean Patrick says, "Steve, I'm a slow reader, but picked up Foresight Saga on ebook. Then I saw how long it is. Is the juice worth the squeeze?" I think it is. Yeah. You'll know very soon. You'll know after 150 pages. After 150 pages, if you're not liking it, you should drop it because all the rest of it's exactly like that. California says, "I loathe the Troy movie, but I really enjoyed Peter O'Toole's performance as King Prime." Well, there we are exactly opposite. Uh, because I like the movie and I don't like his performance as Prime. I mean, I understand if you're the director of the movie and you get a chance to have Peter O'Toole in your movie, you definitely want to do that. But I don't think I don't think he should have been in it. He's a little bit frail, a little bit faded. I guess I myself prefer not to see that Peter O'Toole. And he fooled me so many times. Because I would think, all right, well, you're at a certain age, so there's no way you can give an effective performance here or there, and he would do it. Then he would do it. He would do it like Venus, or his half of Casanova with David Tennant. He would do a great job. But I don't think he did. I don't think he did in Troy. Uh, Karen says 159 people in the chat at 7:39. Good lord. California says, "What is the best book, either nonfiction or fiction, about the Pacific theater of World War II?" Oh, well, th there isn't just one book. I mean, there isn't just one book that is the single best book on that subject. No way. There's no way that I could even narrow it down. I would wanna know no, I sorry. You ask again, "Did you enjoy the John Ford film adaptation of The Last Hurrah?" No, not particularly. Stephen Newton says, "I remember seeing those scanner people at my local library during a sale years ago. They played a major part in the sales going downhill for me." I couldn't do it anymore. I complained about it the first time that it became really intrusive. Long before I stopped going to the sale, I went to one of these sales and I was moving over to a certain shelf, and a guy who was sitting on a chair surrounded with piles of books on the floor told me just matter of factly, "Don't I'm looking at that. Don't shop on that shelf. I'm working on that shelf." And I told him, "I don't give a crap. You don't tell me where I can and cannot shop. If you're looking at this shelf, you should be standing and looking at this shelf." And he ignored me and I ignored him, and that was that. But I didn't like it. I knew what he was, and I knew why he was saying that. And it was shortly after that that I complained privately to a couple of my friends on the Friends of the Boston Public Library, and they said, "Yeah, it's really annoying." And I said, "But you could fix it. You could stop it from happening." And I asked and I got the strong impression that I wasn't the only one who complained. And then a couple of times later, most of the people there were dealers, and I just decided, okay, well, if you're holding an event for dealers, then fine. You don't need me anymore. Uh, uh, Vernon Hill says, Steve, can you recommend any other novels like Candide in which the main character is a naive fool? Tom Jones, one of my favorite novels. Must Read More says, I suppose I have to mention A Confederacy of Dunces, right? Must Read More says, I got near one of the book scanner people the other day. She kept getting in my space, and I got so steamed that I said something rude and had to leave. Yeah, yeah, they view everyone who's not a dealer at such sales as dummies. What dummies you are. You're just buying these things. What are you going to do? Read them? You're not making any money off them at all. So they're full of hatred and contempt. They have contempt for the non-dealers and hatred for all the other dealers, and they radiate it. Uh, Jenny Park says, "Have you or anyone in the chat watched Project Hail Mary yet? I love the book, and I'm nervous about seeing the adaptation. I have the screener for it, but I have not. I have not seen it. Have not have not been interested at all. But your comment made the chat jump. So let's find you again. Uh, let's see here. Oh, sorry about this. This is very annoying. Uh, there we go. Stephen Newton says this is going to sound silly, but an old original Dune movie is one of the few movies my aunt will rewatch. Uh, that reading guy is here. I'm here to save the chat. You can be easy, Steve. I know you missed me. Manny says, I remember really enjoying the book 4567 from Wheel of Time, but I was a pretty new reader back then. Did you enjoy any of the later books from the series? I wouldn't have thought that anyone could enjoy books of 6 and 7, maybe 5, maybe 4, bits of 4. But yes, the final book, A Memory of Light, was terrific. Just terrific. Andrew says, speaking of heroin, what do you think of the Art Pepper memoir, Straight Life? Haven't read it. Colombian Thunder says, many older films have definitely looked amazing with modern remasters. If you can have the correct setup, they simply look marvelous. There are some duds, but I would say most are quite good. That's amazing. I will never have the correct setup, but that is amazing to think about. Uh, I am reading Essential Ghost Rider Volume 3 right now. Good Lord. Transparent Disguise says, how did you interpret the very last scene in the Aeneid? Left a strong impression on me, but I'm not sure what the intention behind it was. Famously an ambiguous scene. Famously, you are not supposed to be quite comfortable with how the thing ends. Who are you supposed to be rooting for? What is the right thing to think here? I was rather brave on Virgil's part in a life that wasn't conspicuous for its bravery. Uh, I love it, of course. That reading guy says, did you read that Bat book from yesterday? It's right. It's right next to me. It has not been far away from me. Ever. At any point, it has not been far away. It's not the kind of thing that you read straight through, but I have been living with it, just living with it. And I will continue to live with it. Sean Patrick says, Steve, your video of Tolland's Hitler book has broken containment, and that's why you're getting some of your comments tonight about talking about him. You're kidding me. You're kidding me. How do you know that? Is that true? Oh, is that true? Oh, oh. What do you mean broken containment? What do you mean by that? Anyway, oh, that would be so just the name. So people just have a program looking for the name. Manny says, what did you think of Henry James's comment that Mr. Trollope was a good observer, but he is literally nothing else? As a Trollope fan, I thought it was pretty funny and partly true. Uh, yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that comment. People have been asking me what I thought of that comment forever and ever. Uh, First of all, it's not true that that Trollope is literally nothing else than an observer. But also, if Henry James had made that comment to me, I would have said, "Well, what do you think your job is, Henry?" But I, of course, I discount it. It's not true. In addition to being petty and you know uh, off the cuff, it's also false, just factually. California says, forgive me if I've asked this already, but would you recommend Rise of the Vulcans by James Mann worth reading? It is worth reading. It's maddening, but it's worth reading. Steve Bronstein says, "Why do you think so many people are unwilling or incapable of holding two opposing ideas, embracing the ambiguity?" No idea. Uh, some Okie dude says, "Favorite JSA member." Uh, Probably the pre-Twitterfied uh, uh, Green Lantern. Jess Book Girl TV says, "Does anyone listen to meditation music while you Does anyone listen to meditation music while you read or write?" I don't know what anyone does. Jenny Park says, "I listen to soundtrack or lo-fi music." Just okay. Damien says, Are you long past needing to look at a word or location up while reading? It often slows me down the most when I'm reading history. I very seldom do it anymore." Uh, Steve, do you have a positive view of Garcia Marquez's writings? I do. Jessica Burkle TV says, "Yes, a huge number of people are going to BookCon. It's a 2-day event." Dressy Crooner says, "Just finished the Aeneid and found Turnus a more compelling character in the second half than Aeneas." Ironically, yeah. When you're not supposed to be rooting for Turnus. Morgan says, "Steve, Joe honestly seemed upset throughout, as it was only a handful of people, kept asking for questions, but they were scant. He then ended it and deleted the stream. Maybe he was discouraged." Oh my, I did not know this. Oh, that's terrible. Uh, Jay Rosen says, "Hello, Steve. I know that in this parasocial relationship, you're always right, but many of your fellow devotees have been telling you that they are yearning for you to resume your library tour." I know. My library tour. Oh, I don't even know how I would do it. I don't even know how I would resume it. We finished the kitchen, but almost everything in the kitchen is different now. So I could start all over again in the kitchen. It'd be a totally different series of videos, which feels pointless. Good. I don't even know where I would start. I'll think about it. I'll think about it. Andrew says, "Having enjoyed the recent Elvis live doco, does that mean documentary? God help us. Can you recommend the Peter Guralnick Presley biography?" I do recommend it. Hega Sanders says, "As you like Michelet, I'm wonder what if that applies to his history of France or also his natural history." It does. I don't know. I'm not really enough familiar with the natural history, but Steve Bronstein says, "How would you exercise self-control if reading wasn't an option, Steve?" Well, I exercised self-control for a long time before reading was an option. It's just it's the same thing. You control what you do. You control what you say. Unless you've got a medical condition, you control those things. Uh, Matt Hopkins says, "Any thoughts on the Red Wall series by Brian Jacks?" I like it just fine for children, but I get the strong sensation that a large proportion of its readership are not children. Uh, Colombian Thunder says, "I refuse to believe Asmongold is not the villain from Men in Black, the first one." I don't know. I don't know why. I Some of these mega viral streamers I can guess at the reason for their popularity, but this kid, I don't. I don't get it at all. I don't understand it at all. Uh, that reading guy is back. "You should do another discussion with Jared Henderson. If the direction his channel is turning to be very interesting, you need to drill him about his conflicting feelings." Uh, well, I have a long dissertation comment on every single sentence in that in that post of yours. Uh, I wouldn't hold your breath. Cosmic A says, "What do you think of those who try and exercise and excuse Washington owning slaves by saying he personally opposed it?" He didn't. He didn't personally oppose it. He actively partook of it, enthusiastically partook of it. I I have held in my hand all the original Washington documents, in addition to knowing their contents better than the people who say that he personally opposed it. We should all be so personally opposed. Uh, Geese Howard says, "Thanks for streaming, Steve. I got Auschwitz and the Allies, but noticed Gilbert's The Boys and the Holocaust sitting. Are all Martin's Gilbert's books worth reading?" Uh, yeah, some more than others. He does tend to go on, and he has a very stilted, very lifeless narrative style. You just have to be used to that. You have to be ready for that. Uh, uh, Anna says, you left the live stream before answering my question last time. Have you read any Belgian or Dutch authors? What did you think of them? I'm sure I've read some Belgian authors, and I've read at least one Dutch author, a humanist called Erasmus, of whom I'm rather fond. Uh, you're back. Groiper is back. I told you an hour ago not to make any more comments. And you are back. I told you not to make any more comments. And you're back. So let's get rid of you so that you don't come back again. Uh, Andrew says, sounds like the Dark Knight Returns is going to return. I couldn't say. I wouldn't know. Wine and Calzone says the 4K remastering is especially impressive on older films that were shot in 35 millimeter. 2026 highlights so far are All the President's Men and Ben-Hur. Incredible stuff. Well, that does sound amazing. That does sound amazing. One of you will have to invite the Bean and I and then bring us over to your house. One of you who lives in, let's say, the Buffalo area will have to invite us over to your house with, your big wall TV and these special redone movies so that we can watch them for a night before we move on our travels. Albert says, can you recommend any good books that follow a cursed item over time rather than human characters? Thinking like the movie The Red Violin. Oh my, the movie The Red Violin. What a movie. And I don't have any. Of course, the thing that's on my mind is another neglected element of this channel, which is our reading of the Book of Exodus, because the Ark of the Covenant becomes exactly that. But I don't have anything else top of my head. No. That reading guy says your live streams have so much more engagement than most larger channels. A channel with almost 100K subs will maybe have 50 people in the chat, while you have triple those. I was about to say that. I don't know how many people are watching now, but these numbers are weird. And I'm not that I'm very gratified by that, but I have noticed exactly what you're saying, that a 100K subscriber channel will have barely anybody in the chat, and they'll be ignoring the chat except for the super chats. Sean Patrick says, Steve, do you have an idea as to when Atkinson's third book in the Revolutionary War trilogy is coming out? I think that he wanted it to come out for the 250th anniversary of the United States. But that anniversary is now bitterly pointless, so I don't have any idea. California says, what are some new wave sci-fi authors other than John Brunner that are worth reading? I know you have a personal disdain for Philip K. Dick. I do. I don't have much love for any of them. John Brunner is a kind of exception because I don't think he really meant it. but most of the others, Haggis Sanders says Steve may have read Erasmus. It's possible that I've read one or two things by Erasmus. Dressy Crooner says reread Shakespeare's Julius Caesar for Ides of March, and I refuse to believe Caesar's portrayal is not meant to be partly comic. Well, there are bits of it that are, but I wouldn't argue most of it. Moses says, are there any writings by Roger Ebert that you like? No. Stephen Bronstein says, how would you rate Tucker Carlson's intelligence? Do you think he's angling for the presidency? If I were to rate his intelligence all by itself, it would be high, but it's hard to do that because he's so evil. There's so much duplicity there. There's so much angling for money. So much that there's nothing there that's trustable. So it's hard to estimate his intelligence in isolation. But it doesn't matter whether or not he's angling for the presidency. Sean Patrick says, Steve, I just read A Room with a View, and maybe it's recency bias, but I think it's one of the better books I've read in years. Do I need to calm down? Well, you might need to calm down, but not for that reason. It is a great book. Moses says, was Roger Ebert a good writer? No. Morgan says, Hanif Qureshi met O'Toole as he was in the movie adaptation of his work, and O'Toole was quite awful to him. He apparently said Omar Sharif was the only Pakistani I liked, except he used the slur. I have heard this. In various interviews where his name comes up, but he's not the subject. I have heard this, that he was not pleasant on the set, not pleasant in interviews, that, of course, not famously anymore. Once upon a time, I should say, probably 50 years ago, something like that, he was starring in a TV movie, I think called Svengali, and he had an interview set up with TV Guide's interviewer at a time when TV Guide was very, I don't know the TV Guide is even made anymore. Once upon a time, it was a powerful magazine. It wasn't just listings of TV. There was all sorts of original writing, some of it very, very good. It had massive circulation, and he just stood the guy up. He just didn't show up for their engagement. So the guy wrote a piece anyway. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that story. Wine and Calzo says, and Steve would love the recent 4K Master and Commander. Oh my, I would, in the Buffalo area. Me and the Bean. Some Okie dude says, I know you've said Mark Waid is one of the best comic writers working today. Are there any modern writers you think are worth reading? Well, the two big ones that everybody talks about are Matt Fraction and Tom King, and they can occasionally be good, but mostly not. I Sean Patrick says, Steve, do you think Pete Hamill flirted with glorifying alcoholism? Flirted with? Yeah, I think he did. California says, hey, Steve, your videos have been a great comfort to me. Wasn't that nice to hear? Thank you. I'm going through a tough time at work, and I'm wondering if you have any advice on changing careers. Well, I don't know the specifics, and my own personal situation is kind of charmed. It's been my career, the career path part of my life has been kind of strange and oddly charmed. So I'm not really in a position to. One thing I would definitely say, if your life breaks down along the normal lines that most people do, then your career is a gigantic part of your waking life, which means you shouldn't hate it. If you hate it, you should change it and make preparations to change it as fast as possible. Get your applications out there, start networking, uh, put a happy smile, put a tolerant mind frame on the current work that you don't like as you actively search for work that you do like, but don't just sit on it. Don't just wait, because that's eating up your gut. Steve Ronson says, for a main character who is naive fool, how about Don Quixote? Maybe an over exaggerated example. He's another classic example, sure. Must Read More says, I saw last year's remaster of Jaws. It was so smoothed out that I found it distracting, and I missed the film grain. Oh, is that what really happens? Oh, well, I can't help but think that some movies would be improved by it. I'm naturally I'm thinking of Lawrence of Arabia. Uh, a Cosmic A says, I forget that if you've answered this, but do you believe there's intelligent life elsewhere in the universe? I don't think so. No. I think that we drastically underestimate how hard it is to evolve intelligent life. I think we underestimate all the factors that are against that. In other words, we underestimate our own luck, our own incredible luck. I would find it very life maybe, but intelligent life, especially technological intelligent life, I wouldn't be surprised if all that vastness out there, all those trillions and trillions of star systems, I wouldn't be surprised if there was none, or maybe one or two so far away that we'll never even know about it. Medieval Priest says, I know you don't have much love for modernists, but did you ever warm up to Robert Musil? Oh, Robert Musil, I did. Yes, Man Without Qualities is great. Dressy Cooner says, what tenor role would you most like to sing in a musical performance? I don't have any idea. Kay Napolo says, is Naked Lunch worth reading? No. I tried it about 20 years ago and put it down. I see a lot of booktubers lately talking about their rereads. Should I try it again? You absolutely should not. A total waste of time. And you're no spring chicken. You don't have the time to waste. So don't bother at all. No. Read something else instead. Read uh, Evening Star by Larry McMurtry. There you go. Read that. Read Body and Soul by Frank Conroy. Uh, uh, Gertrude says, what are you proudest of having written? What an interesting question. I wrote a novel of the Trojan War called Troy War that starts with the golden apple being thrown onto the gods' banqueting table, saying to the fairest, and ends with Neptune and Apollo tearing down the walls of Troy long after the fighting's all over. So it covers the whole thing, not just the events of the Iliad. I would have to say it's that. The writing in that, I would have to say. Morgan says, do you like Pierce Brosnan's Dr. Fate? Yes, I do. Gandhi says, I listen to classical music for most part of while reading. If I'm listening to anything, it's Baroque music. Jess Book Girl TV says, I have to go. It was nice chatting with you all. Bye, bookworms. California says, what is your favorite of the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings films? I still get chills during the Battle of Helm's Deep scenes. Yeah, probably it would be the Two Towers, just like my favorite part of the book is the Two Towers. Uh, Book Supreme says, reading A Distant Mirror and very much enjoying it. Thank you for introducing me to Barbara Tuchman. How amazing. Andrew says, if you'd stuck with cocaine, you might have been in the running for a Nobel. This is a Bob Dylan reference. Dressy Crooner says, Peter O'Toole is our favorite actor of all time, but I do not know if I would have wanted to meet him in person, especially when drunk. Would you have done so? Uh, I wouldn't have seen specifically meeting him while drunk. I wouldn't have seen a point to that at all. I came awful close to doing that, uh, but I wouldn't have seen the point. Morgan says, "Would you say you are a people pleaser, at least to some degree? These Donna heads seem to have too much sway." I don't know. A people pleaser? I don't know. I don't know if I would use that term. I I like, believe it or not, despite the reputation that I have on YouTube, I like to be nice to people. I mean, I like to enthusiastically support them. I don't know if that makes me a people pleaser. Some Okie dude says, I'd be surprised if Steve liked William S. Burroughs. You'd be right. I don't. Steve, I think the best Superman movies are the animated movies. By the way, my name is Ishmael. Uh, I hope you're not talking to the Fleischer cartoons, but the animated series, you mean, or some of the custom-made DC animated movies that they make of various storylines. You could maybe do that. The James Gunn Superman is going to be it for me. That and also Superman and the Mole Men. Matt Hopkins says, "What are your thoughts on Vindication of the Rights of Women by Mary Wollstonecraft? It's on my TBR. It's very good." Dressy Crooner says, "Thanks for your chastisement. I have cleared my bookshelf of a dozen unread books in the last couple of years. Thanks, Uncle Steve. Now to cull the 3 Napoleon biographies I have to just one. You don't need 3 biographies of the pestiferous little Corsican." The Street Medic says, "What do you think of Daniel Boorstin? My favorite, of course, is The Discoverers. I like him. I don't do any more than like him. I think he's, first of all, laborious, but also obvious would be the word. The perfect example of what I think of Boorstin is that when I see a copy of The Discoverers or whatever, a big, like new hardcover with a dust jacket at the Brattle for $1, I don't get it. I like it, but not enough to even bend down and pick it up. Morgan says, "What do you think of YouTuber Parker Notes, mustache and notebooks?" Parker Notes sounds familiar. Not enough for me to know. Not enough for me to answer though. Jason says, "I have started reading and watching westerns. In 1959, there were 30 westerns on TV. What was so captivating for them, for so many people?" I think it was a cultural thing. It caught fathers coming back from the war, and so it was on, and their oldest sons caught it from them. And once that was all done, that it petered out completely. But I could be wrong. There could be other factors involved. I'm still obsessing about that. What is it? An hour ago? I'm still obsessing about that comment saying that uh, making a threat. That was so long ago. Now I'm kicking myself because I shouldn't have. I blocked that person from the chat, and I shouldn't have done that. Because my Reddit boys might be able to. Well, actually, they could probably find him even if I did block him from the chat. Well, anyway, I'm not going to obsess about it. I promise. Colombian Thunder says, "Oh no, Colombian Thunder, uh, Colombian Thunder. We're gonna find you." Um, uh, oh, there's a lot of people here. There's a lot of people here. Let's keep going. Uh, Sorry about this, everybody. The chat just keeps jumping. I don't know why. Oh, there we go. I think it might be best to ban Groiper. Unfortunately, this might be one of those cursed streams. I did ban him, but now I'm wishing I hadn't, because now he's not his link to himself is not here. Uh, and I might like to turn my voice loose on that and see, where and who. But anyway, we'll try not to make it cursed. Uh, Dressy Kuna says Martin Gilbert's book on Israel is fantastic. I recommend it to one and all. That reading guy says you can start your revamped Brenventory in the history or biography section. I look forward to it every time you begin a new tour, but you always quit before you get there. But if I did biography, for instance, it would take me a solid week. What about all the readers, all the viewers of my channel who aren't interested in biography? They would know that that whole video would have nothing in it that they would want to watch. Isn't that unfair? Same thing with anything else. Same thing with if I did graphic novels or history. Sean Patrick says, Steve, I have a feeling you're not a fan of Ben McAvoy, although I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth. I wouldn't say I'm sure that he has encouraged a lot of people to read. Let's just put it that way. Cosmic A says, is the Anthony Briggs War and Peace translation decent? How would you compare it to others? Well, I think it's decent, but you should judge for yourself. You shouldn't go by anybody else's estimation when you're trying to pick a translation you're going to live with for 1,500 pages. You should go only with what you like. Dressy Crooner says, one of these days I must read Jonathan Israel's series of books on the Enlightenment. I find his thesis excessively rigid and generalizing, though. They're really good books, though. And his one on Spinoza, whoa, what book? Adam says, Steve, has your opinion of Conan O'Brien changed after this year's Oscars ceremonies? Not really. No, I'm not a fan. Sean Patrick says, Steve, after Massachusetts, what is your favorite New England state? Probably Maine. Wine and Calzone says, have you ever done a tour of the top 10 list on your books and books about books? Excuse me. I know you've had authors you mainly enjoy for their book critical. Well, that's another thing. If I were to continue the Brenventory and I would move on to books about books, excuse me, that whole wall. Well, then again, anybody who's not interested in that broad subject heading would know that the next 5 videos on my library tour are not for them. I would be worried. Excuse me. I'd be worried that I'd be boring people with these mono-subject videos. Gandhi says, having a difficult time getting into Frank Decoder's Red Dawn over China. Writing is very dry. I tend to agree. It's pretty meaty, though. Must Read More says, I'm so out of the loop that I don't know who almost any of the contemporary actors or personalities that come up in these streams are. You are rather out of the loop. It's rather charming. That reading guy says, Steve, do you ever see yourself leaving Boston again, except for the book barn, I guess? Only hypothetically. If I were to live somewhere else, pack everything up in a moving van, put the bean and me in the front cab, but otherwise, the book barn, maybe other excursions like that to use bookstores in Rhode Island or Connecticut or whatever. Dressy Crooner says, am I misremembering, or did you say that the Three Musketeers is stronger work than A Count of Monte Cristo a while back? I think so, yeah. If so, what makes the former the stronger work in your opinion? It's more concentrated. It's a lot less self-indulgent. Street Medic says, The Red Violin is my favorite Samuel Jackson movie, followed by Pulp Fiction. Hello, Deep Blue Sea, greatest death scene in all of cinema history. Burdell says, are you going to three-peat and be blurbed on the Cat's translation of The Idiot coming out this summer? No, I'm not. They asked for a blurb for Crime and Punishment. They asked for a blurb for The Brothers Karamazov. They did not ask me for a blurb for The Idiot, even though I'm pretty sure I've sold more copies of those first 2 books than anyone else. I was not asked for a blurb for The Idiot. So the only way I'll be blurbed on it is if I'm going to review it, of course, and I might get legitimately not pre-blurbed, but legitimately blurbed from my review on the paperback. That might happen. Then it would be a three-peat. California says, did you enjoy Ken Burns' documentary series on the Revolutionary War? Not particularly, no. Street Medic says, what happened to the Erasmus picture? It's somewhere else. I rotate the pictures just to, on a whim. Morgan says, have you seen The Hours? Did you like it? I didn't particularly like it, no. Thomas says, who are the UK female inheritors of Rebecca West, Mary Renault, Helen Ashton in that group as well? I don't know them. I don't know there are any. Manny says, "Are you a fan of the long ships?" I am. Yes. Stephen Newton says, "Did you see that the History Channel is doing another World War II documentary series? This time with Tom Hanks." I did not. Dressy Crooner says your commentary on the Bible, which is brilliant, has inspired. Thank you. Has inspired the observation that so much of the Bible is taken up with suspiciously human, primitive shibboleths like tribal lineages. Yeah, it's all about that. It's all about you can reverse engineer it. You can see a group of priests saying, "Well, we want to control how you work in the marketplace, how you dispose of your meat, how you manage your household, how you regulate the sale of slaves in the marketplace, and in order to do that, we need to sort of work it into a sacred text so that you're repeating it at special occasions." I really should get back to the Bible. I keep meaning to do that. Um, K. Napolo says, "Do you still have your Penguin collection?" I do. I regret many of my book purges. I wonder what therapist would tell me I have some books I have disposed of only to repurchase later. Yeah, I I have a much better Penguin collection. The Penguin collection that used to be my Penguin wall had lots and lots of dead weight on it, and I don't care that it's a Penguin classic. I don't want any dead weight in my collection. Uh, Steve, when is your next live stream going to take place? I want to get ready ahead of time because I live in a different time zone. I have no idea. I have no idea when it will. Cosmic A says, "Do you think Horatio Nelson is overrated as an admiral?" I do. Street Medic says, "Have you ever been stumped by an Encyclopedia Brown mystery?" Can't say as I have. Sean says, "Steve, as a Star Trek fan, have you watched the Orville since the many original fans consider it a spiritual successor? Did you like it?" I do. I have watched it, and I do like it. I I have a rather passionate dislike for Seth MacFarlane, and the show's all him. It's entirely him. But yes, when I can look beyond that, I agree that it's really good. David Hume says, "Speaking of new wave SF authors, does that mean you're not a fan of J.G. Ballard?" Not at all. Or do you like his more autobiographical fiction slash memoirs? I don't like anything the man ever wrote. Uh, I would say that of the new wave science fiction authors, it's John Brunner and Thomas Dish, and nobody else. Uh, Eric Gaines says, "Are there any books or of letters you would recommend, either of one person or correspondence between two people?" Yeah. What? W did you leave out part of your question? I Yeah, I love letter collections. Love them. I One Art, for instance, by Elizabeth Bishop. Uh, Must Read More says, "I like Philip K. Dick's ideas a lot more than his books, although I did like Ubik a lot." Jesse Crooner says, "What is your favorite Broadway musical of all time?" It's already come up on the Steve stream. Cozy says, "Have you ever seen every movie like you've read every book?" No, no. Have you ever seen questions are perfectly acceptable. Morgan says, "What do you think about Sean Penn dismissing the Oscar ceremony in lieu of itinerant hero escapades in Ukraine?" I was amused. Yeah, yeah, I don't know that I would call it amused, but the whole thing is just such a stupid, irrelevant spectacle that I wasn't really paying much attention. Manny says, "I really enjoyed the Count of Monte Cristo, but I can't for the life of me understand why it's lauded as the greatest book ever written by so many people. I think because they're so proud of having finished it." Albert Gold says, "As a Bostoner, do you have any thoughts on the abrupt dismissal of Anders Nelson's from the Boston Symphony Orchestra?" I do not. Reading guy says, "Does it ever bother you that we are 50 years removed from the 1970s?" Uh, Not particularly. No, it does bother me that it's not still the 1980s. It doesn't bother me so much about the 70s. By the time the 70s were winding down, I think everyone else were ready for them to wind down. Steve, have you ever seen a dead human body? I have. And what are your favorite birds? I'm obsessed with owls. Well, I would like to say owls, but I suppose I'm duty bound to say my brawling white trash sparrows out on the front edges. I suppose I'm duty bound to say they're my favorite birds since I take care of them. I feed them. I put up with them. I listen to them argue and fight amongst themselves. California says, "My favorite personal comic writer is Kurt Busiek. I confess that he's a better knack of Conan's character than Roy Thomas. I still really enjoy Roy Thomas." Well, I guess Roy Thomas is still alive, so I should have mentioned him. That I should that's kinda dumb. Kurt Busiek too, I should have mentioned both of them. Sean Patrick says, "Steve, are fleas and ticks a problem in your area? If so, do you give your dog any treatment for it?" I don't give Frida any treatment for fleas and ticks. We're very seldom anywhere where we would be vulnerable to them anymore. She's maybe when it's a beautiful spring day, she might be up for a ramble in the wilderness, but uh, usually not anymore. So, and there are treatments. I mean, I have a veterinarian that could give her something easily. There are plenty of really good treatments. Uh, Thomas says, "Who are those Venice Baroque composers you have piping quietly in the bookstore again?" Uh, well, pretty much any of them that end in INI. I mean, I'm not talking here about Locatelli or Tartini. Believe it or not, even though nobody knows those names, those are too high profile for me. I'm talking about the vast quantity of Venetian Baroque music we have from wonderful composers who are not known at all anymore. They are never replayed, but you can find their music. There are a lot of them. They bred like flies in Venice. Uh, Dressy Crooner. So I can certainly recommend Locatelli and Tartini to start with. Dressy Crooner says, "Last year I read Flexner's Washington on your recommendation, Chernow's Hamilton, and Ronald C. White's Lincoln. Loved them all, but Chernow and White stand out." Huh. Okay. Over Flexner. Okay. Brycey says, I have echoes of sorrow in our heart on my bedside table. Thank to you for the recommendation. Colombian Thunder says, "It depends. Some movies that are remastered remove the grain, unfortunately, but some do keep it. The Lawrence of Arabia remaster from a few years ago is, in my opinion, jaw dropping." Oh, so they did do Lawrence of Arabia. Well, that would be something to see. Street Medic says, "Nelson isn't overrated as an admiral, but Halsey is after getting lured away from." Okay, Nelson is overrated as an admiral. He could have left covering forces and still go after the Japanese carriers, but he didn't. Uh, Lou uh, Balby says, "Steve, after recently watching Hamnet and being impressed with its impressively acted scene from Hamlet, has made me eager to reread the play. What edition it has the best notes? Folger, Arden." The Folger and the Arden are both excellent, just excellent versions. I would probably give it to the Arden. I should say, to the Arden from, what was it, 20 years ago? What's his name? Oh God, that green trade paperback. What's his name? The guy that did just a masterful edition of Hamlet. I ought to remember this. It's too far away. It's around the corner, so I can't see it. Uh, but they're both really really good. So just make sure that you get an older edition, something from before the 20th century, so that you don't run any risk of getting an edition where the critical apparatus is ideologically infected with weird alt left politics. We're just they don't care that it's Hamlet. They're just, I've got a venue to say all sorts of dumb nonsense. Get an older version, an older critical version from either one of those will be fine. Uh, Anand says, "I followed your recommendation and read Mummies, Myth and Magic. I complimented this with a visit to Ramsay's 2 exhibition in London. Good Lord." Morgan says, "What did you think of those who needlessly wear suits today?" I've never understood. It's so masochistic. Why would you do that? Sean Patrick says, "Steve, Richard Harris and Peter O'Toole are sometimes compared. Is that a fair comparison?" Very fair. Yeah. Yeah, very fair. Uh, TMBT MTB says, "Years ago, I read Heinrich Bill's group portrait, Heinrich Boll's group portrait with Lady, and found it a little hard to follow. I'm thinking about rereading it now and I'm much older. Any advice?" I would love to present you with a new translation. That would be great. There isn't one, but I would love it if there were. Uh, but I think either way, I think your own suspicion, the suspicion that's coded into your question, is valid. I think you will like it a lot more. Uh, Steve, did you ever meet Frank Frazetta or Neil Adams? No. Street Medic says, "What about people who needlessly wear pants?" I don't understand them either. Dressy Crooner says, "I needlessly wear suits every day to work, and I love it. Classic menswear is great, if you say so." Uh, that reading guy says, "I second Steve's recommendation of Body and Soul." Steve, what's your favorite scene? Uh, I don't know if I could pick a favorite scene. There's some little bits that I just love. Claude's introduction to the school, for instance, when he starts playing on the piano and the kid whose notebook he returned knows right away, what on earth is this? What on earth is this? And they get the bitter old music instructor for the school. The headmaster wants the music instructor to listen to this kid. What are you telling me? He just walked in off the street, and the music instructor listens to him, and you could just hear the bitterness coming off his voice when Claude is finished, saying that whether the headmaster says, "Well," and the music instructor says, "Well, what?" And the headmaster says, "Well, is he good?" And yes, he's obviously good, considerably better than anyone we've ever had here. You can hear it just grudgingly because what the music instructor means is that Claude is considerably better than he is. I love that moment. I love that moment. Also, I love the moment much later in the book when an older Claude has had his arm broken by the guys who are trying to get him out of his place so they can, just bulldozer it. And he has to go to his girlfriend's father, who goes to the guy in charge and just slides a piece of paper with a phone number across the desk. Doesn't even want to talk to the guy. Doesn't want to touch him at all. Call that number, and then call this number. I just that scene where the man's bluff confidence just wilts right in front of you, and he ends up once he's finished with the phone conversation, he ends up by just saying, "We will never touch him again. Don't worry, he'll be fine. I hope everything's okay." And those scenes are great, but there's so many others. Anyway, Alexandros says, "All Star Superman, yay or nay?" For me, it's nay. I know that puts me in the minority. CS Reader says, "What are your thoughts on Nabokov's Pale Fire?" I try not to think about it. California says, "Steve streams aside, I do not understand the appeal of any streamers." Steve streams aside. Andrew Russell says, "Hi, Steve. Did the bound book collection of your review writings you mentioned a few years back ever progress? Would be well worth it if it's still on the agenda." It is still on the agenda. Many such collections, not just one, many. TMTB says Heinrich Boll, dang autocorrect. Well, you don't need autocorrect when you've got Steve correct. California says, "Who is your favorite fantasy artist and why is it Frazetta?" It depend on what we mean by fantasy artist. That it would depend entirely on that. Morgan says, "Do you watch the animated Batman films whenever they release a new one?" I get around to them. I don't get screeners of them, so I don't watch them right away. I don't watch them religiously. Uh, yes, I mean exactly the Superman movies you mentioned. Are you on, are you on camera? Huh? You gonna go over to the chair? You can do it. There you go. Oh, oh. There you go. Are you gonna bring your hindquarters down, Frida? Or you're just gonna stay in that position. There you go. Are you gonna make a bed? Oh, there you go. uh, let's see here. Where were we? Probably when I moved the laptop, probably the chat jumped, right? I'm assuming that it did. Yes, it did. Let's try and find out where we were. I don't. Uh, uh, what was it? It was about my collected book reviewing. Is that right? Uh, yeah, the chat did jump. It jumped really bad. I guess there are over 100 people here. Is that right? Uh, oh, God help us. Sorry about this, people. This is just okay. Steve streams aside. I remember that. Uh, uh, okay. Sean Patrick, Steve, is James Dickey worth reading beyond Deliverance? I believe he wrote poetry as well. No, he's not, including Deliverance. Alexandro says, "Do you like any jazz? If so, what?" No, I don't. Dressy Crooner says, "I'm convinced I would have been a Federalist in the early 1800s rather than a Democrat. Who would you have supported?" Nice try. Uh, Leo Picard says, "Hello, Steve. Do you think the quality and interest of books and movies and the quality and interest of their respective prizes have declined at the same rate and for the same reasons?" I do. Stephen Newton says, "Do Android's Dream of Electric Sheep was the first science fiction novel, and I fell in love with it." Really. Morgan says Parker Notes has collaborated with a lot with Jared Henderson, talking about, yep, you guessed it, philosophy, brolosophy, yeah, brolosophy. Uh, let's keep going. California says, what was the best classic Western TV series? Gunsmoke, Rawhide, Have Gun, Will Travel. You offend me, sir. You did not mention Bonanza. That reading guy says, has Steve actual Reddit boys? You have armies at your command, dogs, Reddit boys, and what else? Drew's model says, hello, Steve. Are the medieval mystery novels by Michael Jex any good? They are. They are good. There are lots that are better. Uh, I will provide Steve a few intelligence agents. Andrew Russell says, saw an earlier comment about Admiral Nelson. I think vastly overlooked admiral was Cochrane. Makes me proud to be Scottish. Dressy Kuna says, I want to give Bleak House and Anna Karenina another chance. Alexandra says, do you like the recent Fantastic Four movie? Not much. I like bits and pieces of it, but boy, oh boy, I think the Fantastic Four is a cursed cinematic property. I really do. Hexander says, can you find the hyperlink of this Groiper guy in the list of blocked users? I thought such a thing existed. Well, I can't do it, but I'm probably, it can be done, but it's probably not worth it, right? These are drive-by things. Although the thing that makes me hesitate and keep obsessing on it is that when someone threatens me, that doesn't feel like drive-by anymore. If someone says, I should read David Irving on Hitler and that I'm being mean to Hitler, that's one thing. Someone tells me I should sleep with one eye open, that's a threat. And I don't like that at all. That strikes me as different from just a drive-by comment. But anyway, Alexandros says, speaking of the Enlightenment, how do you like the 2-part series by Peter Gay? Not much. That reading guy says, Steve, we are all readers. We'd love to see whatever you have on your shelves, no matter what the subject. Still, you should care only for what I want, because that is what matters here. Gertrude says, do you like tea? Not so that I would drink it on my own. For a long time, for a lifetime. Decades and decades and decades. I had a little hole-in-the-wall Chinese food place where I went once a week to read periodicals in complete peace and quiet, where no one in the world knew where I was. And there was always the little cup of tea that came with that, a whole pitcher of tea, and I would drink that, but not to pay attention to it or to know anything about it. Moses 1 says, do you like any of the Forsyth Saga series adaptations? No. California says, what do you think of Richard Attenborough's film Gandhi? I like it. Dressy Crooner says, attended a monthly poetry gathering where we wrote poems inspired by Debussy's Clair de Lune. So much fun. I would rather shoot myself. Kay Napolo says, I really enjoyed that piece you wrote for Big Canoe last summer. It really invoked the feeling of a summer read. When you were at your peak, you truly shine. Good writing, Steve. Good Lord. Really? Oh, thank you. Hegasander says, would you be willing to make a video on the great historians of the 19th century in the month of Victober? Haven't I done something like that? I certainly would be able to. Yeah. California says, what is the best literary adaptation of a film? The best book made of a film? I'm not sure I understand the question. That reading guy says, Steve's favorite movie must be Sharknado or Meg. Watch it in 4K. No, that would be Cloverfield. Thank you very much. Street Medic says, how many volumes would a Steve Donahue biography take? There is no such. It would be my own book. It would be a 1,000-page book called Odd Dog. Medievalist Priest says, Steve, can you recommend me a few historians that you have liked over the past few decades, just off the top of your head? Yeah. Historians of what? In what period? What kind of historians? What Rick Atkins's name came up in this chat, and there are a whole bunch. I think this question may suffer from a misestimate of just how much history I read. Anyway, Bookless Pete is here. Hi, Steve. Do you have any recommendation for someone who's read all the Hornblower and Aubrey and Matron and wants more Napoleonic era naval novels? Yes. Dewey Lambton. His Alan Lurie novels. They are decidedly unlike Aubrey and Matron or Hornblower, because Alan Lurie is far closer to Flashman. He's not, a comic figure like Flashman. He's not a coward, but he isn't, a starched god on earth like Hornblower. And and there isn't any of the period lingo fireworks of the Aubrey and Maturin books. They are wonderful though. The Alan Lurie novels are wonderful. I don't know if they're still ongoing. They lack a uniform set, as far as I know. I know that like the first 3 or 4 were in mass market paperback a long time ago. That's how I found them. Gertrude says, "Have you ever witnessed or been involved in something unexplainable?" Uh, well, depends on what you mean. I mean, sorry, I'm getting all Jordan Peterson here. Every single question I'm saying depends on what you mean, but it's something that's come up on other Steve streams, and a couple of you have commented on it that you've also heard about it in other people. It sounds very Alex Jones. It sounds very conspiracy theory, but nevertheless, before COVID, I wore glasses. You can see it in my cartoon avatar. For the whole of my adult life, I wore glasses. And then when COVID happened and you had to wear a mask, the first time I did it, it was fogging up my glasses. Everybody complained about that. And it was so annoyed me that I took the glasses off. I don't need I navigate much more by hearing than by eyesight anyway. So I took them off and figured, I'll squint, I'll walk right up to things. It'll be an inconvenience, but not as inconvenient as having my glasses fog up every time I breathe. So I took them off, I folded them, and I put them in my bag. And I never took them out again. I don't need them anymore, and I don't have an explanation for that. I'm not groping and walking right up to things. I'm not squinting from anywhere past 15 feet. My eyes seem to have changed, and I don't have an explanation for that. So I guess that would count. It just feels really, really weird to say. Coldifornia says, "Where should I start with Daphne du Maurier?" Well, why not start with Rebecca? Why not? Why not start with her best? So you don't know if you like her, right? Enoch says the absurd improbability of other intelligent life in the universe is a strong argument for a creator. No, no, it's not. Not. I know. You probably pulling my chain, but no, it's not. It torpedoes the idea of a creator. It's no, it isn't a strong a strong argument for that at all. Manny says, "Are you a fan of Dostoevsky's The Idiot? Despite its many flaws, I found it to be strangely powerful and effective." I would agree on all of that. It's mighty flawed, but it is powerful and effective. Yeah, even so. The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas by Ursula Le Guin, in my humble opinion, is one of the most powerful short stories and one of the most frequently anthologized stories. Absolutely, almost matchless. I agree, it is terrific. Dressy Kruner says, "Do you think Homer's Iliad was written in some form in its beginnings?" No. In its very beginnings, no. Morgan says, "Who is the most brilliant and intelligent person you have ever met?" It's difficult to give a single person. I had one great teacher who introduced me to the wonder of books. I would probably nominate him. ADHD Reader says, "I am dying to know what you think of Firefly. Do we count you as a fan?" I'm afraid not. Street Medic says, I've never asked you a have you read question, but I'll bite the bullet and ask if you've read the Quran." The sacred text of one of the world's 3 most powerful religions. It's had a number of new translations, headline grabbing translations in the last 30 years. And you want to know if I've ever read it? If I've ever read the Quran? Well, okay, you saved up a good one. Wine and Calzone says, "Would the 5 colleges book sale in April tempt you away from the fainting couch? Does David have any frequent flyer miles left?" I don't know if the 5 college book sale happens still. Does it happen still? It stopped, of course, because of COVID, but has it been resumed? Gandhi says, "I located a hardcover copy online of John Toland's book on Hitler. Looking forward to receiving and diving into it." Yeah, apparently don't make a video about it, though. To me, a 64-year-old man, William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy's Star Trek is the real thing. Well, it certainly feels real to me. California says his favorite musical is My Fair Lady. Nate Bouchard says, "Why has stoicism become such a trend among dude bros?" Because it doesn't have any women. It's the same thing. It's just the same thing. Among the dude bros, because that doesn't have any women. We come to among the grifters because it's popular with dude bros, and they'll pay for anything that's popular. So find what they like and take it seriously or pretend to. Uh, Jenny Park says cold or is asked in California. Okay. Thomas says scored a copy of Marco Polo's Travels from Garden City Books at a Bryn Mawr Wesley used book sale. Thank you for putting it on my radar. Says also want to know about Summer Tribute. Well, we're not there yet. I will be ruthless when the time comes, but we want from Memorial Day to Labor Day. So we're not there yet. We have time for Summer Tribute. And then once it starts, you will all have to go to your library book sales. Obnoxious dealers notwithstanding, you will have to go to your library book sales and bombard me with tribute. That reading guy says, I'm reading ready for the 21st century to wind down, but we have 70 years and many more tragedies to go first. Yes. Yes. Dressy Kuna says, do you think The Fall of Heaven is essential reading for people wanting to know more about Iranian history? Essential? Not if I'm remembering it correctly. Maybe I'm not. Transparent Disguise says, have you read Talleyrand by Duff Cooper? Yes, I have. Steve, is Francis Bacon worth a read? Is there anything from him which I should avoid? If you find like a Penguin Selected, that will be fine. That you should read it if you're curious about the time period. You should, but find like a Penguin or Oxford Selected. Read the introduction. The introductions to those sorts of things are usually excellent, and then they will give you the stuff that is going to appeal to a general interest reader, and you'll be fine. If you absolutely fall in love, there's a lot more. Uh, Robert Browning's The Ring in the Book is a powerful verse novel, which I enjoyed reading a few weeks ago. It is terrific. Uh, Jason says, what was your favorite Western TV show? I just watched a great episode of The Texan. Great writing. Favorite Western TV show ever? Or favorite Western TV show from the classic era? If it's from the classic era, it would probably be Bonanza. Ever, there is no question, no hesitation. There is no comparison with Deadwood to anything that has ever happened in the genre. So it would be Deadwood if we're talking ever. Manny says, I've been getting back to Plutarch in Dryden's translation lately, and oh my, I forgot how much I love his presence. He's a low-key, such a great storyteller. I completely agree. Cozy says, do you like silent movies? Do you have a favorite between Chaplin and Keaton? I do not like silent movies, no. Dressy Crooner says, under your chastisement, I had to remove the Gore Vidal novels I never got to. Sad. Oh well, I can always rebuy them, though I doubt they will measure up to Julian. You could bite the bullet, You could take high definition pictures of all your bookshelves and send them to me. Then you'd see some chastisement, baby. That reading guy says, "What will you be reading tonight?" Well, I'm going to be spending a lot more time with this. I'm going to be reading this thing. I'm going to bash that out really quickly and maybe go back to it. There's the New Yorker. Nice big thick thing. There's this thing, which I've already read this, but I'm going to give it another read through since someone's kind enough to send it to me. And what else? I thought I had something on the iPad all lined up and ready. Maybe not. No, I don't think I do. Oh, right. It's on the Kindle. A totally pointless 1 millionth reread of Mrs. Dalloway. So, that'll be last on the list. That will be all the rest of these things will take precedence over that. Street Medic says, I took a class on how to do CPR on dogs because it's not uncommon to pull dogs from house fires. Declan says, since he didn't win Best Actor, how soon will his Kardashian girlfriend drop Timothy Chalamet? I don't know. I don't know. Cozy says, boy, what a chat this has been. Why are the youngins so obsessed with Criterion Collection? It's the same thing that explains all such obsessions, whether it's with movie collections or video people or whatnot. Thirst for genuine, a thirst for the real. Steve, what were your thoughts when visiting Malta? I stayed there for a week and was in love. It's hard not to be in love. Hard not to be in love. I remember steaming heat, but I remember also loving it. Uh, Damien says, given the depth of Toland's book on Hitler, do you find it lacking in any way? Yeah, yeah, I do. He obviously is in a hurry to concentrate on the World War II era, the 30s and the World War II era. I understand that because that's the biggest and best, the biggest and most important era. But I could have stood. I understand why Volker Urich and Ian Kershaw do 2 volumes, so they can give a lot of time to Hitler's youth, to his experiences in the First World War. But I don't know that I'd call that a real lack. The book is so strong. Uh, that reading guy says, I could listen to you talk about your favorite scenes of Body and Soul all day. Any book, really. Well, that's a favorite of mine for a number of reasons. But you asked what my favorite scenes were. I could go on about about scenes. They're all just terrific. Except for the very ending. I just love the book. Gandhi says, how old is Frida? Frida is 9, going on 10. Damien says, I love Frida Cam. Yes, she is. She is finished with all of her moving around and is now falling into a deep sleep. That reading guy says, what are some books you think need new translations? Oh, God, don't get me started. I could go on forever. I could go on forever. No offense to Michael Katz, but Dostoevsky's The Idiot has had 6 good English translations. There are 10 Russian authors who had none. It's 10 really great Russian authors who've had none. And look at all the classic stuff out there that isn't the Iliad or the Odyssey, for Pete's sake. I realize you're writing for an audience, you're writing something that you want to sell, but still, oh God, all the German works. There's so many German works. I mean, we mentioned Heinrich Boll came up, Group Portrait with Lady, all the rest of him. He's not even in print in English in the United States at all, even with an older translation. It's ridiculous. Anyway, sorry. Uh, uh, Mariki says hello. Morgan says, do you watch the animated Batman films whenever they release a new one? Didn't I already see this question? I do. Yes, not religiously. Karen says, do you think Frida is taking yoga classes while you were in the bridal sale? Sometimes her mind will wander. She'll be halfway between one spot and another, all stretched out between them, and she'll want to be double checking to make sure everything's just right. Cozy says, do contemporary novels do anything better than older ones? No. Street Medic says, Toland's book on Hitler was okay, but Infamy was horribly biased. Steve will probably disagree, though. Well, as long as we're disagreeing in a friendly way. Morgan says, are you looking forward to the adventures of Cliff Booth? No. Stephen Newton says, if you read all night and watch YouTubers during the day, when do you get time to write? Well, I write too. I'm a very fast writer, the fastest writer east of the Pecos. But I managed to fit all this stuff in. Let's see here. Marika says, are you a vegan? I am. Colombian Thunder says, have you ever encountered a whale shark while on your ocean travels? I think they are perhaps the most beautiful animals to grace the earth, apart from dogs, of course. I have. Yeah. Always mindful, right? When you're a bookish person, then you encounter a whale shark and your own vessel is smaller than they are. I'm always mindful of Kon-Tiki by Tor Heyerdahl because I don't want any kind of mishaps, but I never had any. Kelly says, the jerk who left the sleep with one eye open wasn't Groiper, but MRVV something or other. If you're going to get your people to track down well, I don't think, I mean, everybody gets weird, semi-hostile comments in a live stream, or lots of people do. Certainly people who have 160 people watching will get them. So I shouldn't overreact. Right? It's nothing. I shouldn't do anything about it. I don't like that kind of thing at all. I have a remarkably thin skin for being threatened. But no, I won't. I don't need to. The more I think about it, the more I need to just forget about it. California says, to clarify, I was referring to a book adaptation of a major motion picture film, Revenge of the Sith, King Kong, Star Trek the Motion Picture. Yeah, it would be Revenge of the Sith would be the one that I would pick. Martin's is Harold Jenkins. Yes, that's right. Harold Jenkins. That's the one to get. That's the Hamlet to get. Morgan says, "Write that odd dog right this minute. I think I need it." It would be big. It would be 1,000 pages long. I know that some of you would buy it. It would be my life story, and there are tiny little bits of it that I have already written, and I have shown those tiny little bits to a couple of people who have reported favorably. They've said, "This is good. This is very good." Uh, Gandhi says, "I really enjoyed Ramachandra Guha's two-volume biography of Gandhi. Excellent books. Yes, they both made my list for the end of the year." California says, "What is the best historical fiction series set during the Second World War?" That's probably depends on what you want to do, on what you're doing with. Ugh. Uh, I maybe Herman Wouk, The Winds of War and War and Remembrance, maybe. Uh, eh, I don't know. I don't know that I could give it a top spot. Manny says, "Have you watched the 1964 Longships movie? It looks like some intriguing and fun trash." I don't think I ever have. Colombian Thunder says, "I saw Cloverfield in theaters. I was 9. It was a very memorable experience." Well, it should be the greatest movie ever made. Uh, Snaggletooth says, "Is there a Bourgeois biography you can recommend?" There is not. Alexandro says, "Have you been to a Grateful Dead concert? If so, in approximately what year?" I have not. Street Medic says, "Depending on what you mean," is a very philosophical thing to say. I know. I've been saying it over and over again tonight. Bookless Pete says, "Great. Alan Lurie sounds perfect since I love the Flashman novels as well." If you can find them, they're well worth it. Well worth it. I got to read them in order. Find the first one and read them in order, but they're well worth it. And they also, no offense to Audrey and Matron, and no offense to C.S. Forster, but the Lurie books are largely free of that tedious business of climbing up the ranks. They're largely free of that. They're much more interested in telling an adventure story than advising you on how to get ahead in Nelson's Navy. uh, Marika says, "What? When was the last time you have been to Europe?" It was a long, long time ago, and I'll never be back. Eerie. Uh, Declan says, "Ever witness something unexplained? Tell us a Studio 54 story, Steve." Yeah, that would be. That reading guy says, "The most brilliant person you've ever met is not yourself." Well, I haven't met myself, right? I assumed I was out of the question there. Ann Sampson says, "I have been working my way through your Western Canon starter kit, but just couldn't get myself to stick with the Bible. I really appreciate your reading and discussing it has helped me. Yes, I need to get back to the Bible. We should be doing the Bible and Can You Forgive Her every day." Leo Picara says, "Are you better read than Michael Durda?" You've never been asked that question before. I've been asked that question a number of times. Yes, and I have no idea. I would guess that I am. He strikes me as a monoglot or two languages at most. So I would guess that I am. He also strikes me as someone who isn't really that conversant with the literature of the classical world. I could be wrong. Street Medic says the rectus muscles of your eye can grow with exercise like any other muscles, so squinting can change the geometry of the globe of your eye and change your vision. Yes, but I thought of that, but I didn't. I wasn't squinting when I took the glasses off and put them away and put my mask back on. It was just going, on the subway, walking around with the dog. I wasn't doing this all the time. I wasn't squinting at all. It's just suddenly I had perfectly serviceable vision again without glasses. I haven't gone back to them. It's just so weird. Uh, Declan says, "Steve, your eyes benefited from a Marvel-like secondary mutation." Next up, the prehensile tail. Oh, that would be so awesome. That reading guide, the next "Have you read?" question will cause your head to explode. Unrelated, but have you read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen? Oh no, the chat jumped because I was being taunted. Here, it was Gertrude who had the next question. Um, so it was that reading guide 2 in a row. And then Gertrude, where are you here? Although we do have to wrap things up. Uh we do have to start wrapping things up. Oh God, though. Uh Sorry about this. This is so rude of me. Um okay, there we go. Gertrude, what's your opinion of David Foster Wallace Consider the Lobster? It's terrible. Gandhi says maybe one of your videos with accompanying chat will surface years from now, a la Woody Allen's Sleeper. Love the scene in the movie where the VW bug starts right up. It's 3 a.m. here. Thank you once again for your incredible presence, Steve. Happy reading. 3 a.m. in where? Is it Tel Aviv? Manny says it's a bit annoying though that this complete modern library edition of Plutarch doesn't have any notes. Maybe I can pick up a few separate Penguins or Oxford of him though. Yeah, yeah. Or you could opt for the big floppy Penguin Classic Deluxe of the Tale of Genji that has the text and notes and deckled edges and French flaps and illustrations all throughout. You could get the big Penguin Classic Deluxe edition of the brand new, complete and fully annotated Plutarch's Parallel Lives, except it doesn't exist. Except, as far as I know, that edition has never existed in English. Morgan says, Steve, didn't you say you were vegetarian before? Well, yeah, I might have. There, one is a subset of the other, right? Uh, that reading guy says, "Did you like the new translation of Musashi by Alexander Bennett?" Uh, don't know that I've read it. I don't think that I have. I kept waiting for someone to send it to me. This poor little pampered thing. Cozy says, "What is the loveliest region of England? I've never been, but hope I can afford it eventually. The lovely rolling countryside of Kent." Street Medic says, I have Kon-Tiki in my library, haven't read it in decades. Drew's Model says, be kind to the new folk who ask, have you read? I made this mistake a few years ago. I was so broken that I ended up as a padded self for a few weeks. I tried to, I was nice. I answered the question. I had to exhale a little, but I answered the question. Street Medic says, are there any new books on Polynesian migration? Not that I know of. Declan says, sounds like everything that can be said or written about Adolf has. Are you in favor of a cessation of future biographies on this guy? I wouldn't want to say that because they could be brilliant. I mean, Volker Ehrlich, his books on Hitler are brilliant. So I wouldn't want to call a moratorium. No, I don't like the shape that those future biographies will take. I know that they will take it, but even so, I'll still want to read them. California says, what do you think of the 1980 film Excalibur? I don't like it. I know that puts me in the minority. That reading guy says, I too need Odd Dog right this minute. When will you actually write it? In about 5 minutes, you're going to be dead. I know. I know. I should. Of all the books that the possible books that I've ever floated, that is the one that people want to read. Whatever reason, I don't know. Morgan says, favorite sandwich filling? Watercress. Manny says, speaking of Herman Woke, do you like his Cane Mutiny? I found it free a while back. It's very good. Yeah. Colombian Thunder says, gotta go. Have a good night. Yes. Oh, I have to go as well. Street Medic says, I could live in Florence. Love that town. I agree. Declan says, oh, by the way, happy St. Patrick's Day. Cloverfield, I just got that. Stephen Newton says, what are your thoughts on Robert Heinlein? I noticed you read a couple of his books. I generally like him. Generally. Uh, Marika says, do you have any favorite books written by very young people, like teenagers or even children? Not that I can think of. I mean, Frankenstein, but not many. No. California says, is the Jewel in the Crown miniseries any good? Yes, but not nearly as good as the book. This is not a case where I'm saying that the film version is better. Kay Napolo says, speaking of Russian authors, Stephen Fry's special on Russian literature was so well done. I miss having cultural critics. I miss Walter Cronkite. And at times, you say Vidal, I assume you mean Gore Vidal. Yeah, cultural critics. Yeah. Cozy says, you didn't even like the authority of American usage from Consider the Lobster? No, I did not. Oh my God. Oh, all right. We're going to keep going here. Gandhi says, opinion on Leon Uris's novels. I generally don't like them. For instance, I just reread Mila 18. And God, I don't think I'm due for a big reread of Leon Uris. I don't think. Marika says, if your dog doesn't like somebody, does that change how you feel about the person? My dog hates my new friend for no reason. Okay, well, Frida is incredibly outgoing. She loves people. She's not all that wild about dogs, but she loves humans. So I don't have that problem. But I have had that problem in the past, and connected with your second comment, your dog does not hate your new friend for no reason. Dogs don't hate people for no reason. You have a language barrier, so you might never know what the reason is. But there's a reason. I guarantee you there's a reason. It might not be a rational one. I wish I were there. I could. That reading guy says Steve is not only vegetarian, he barely eats anything but mega stuff Oreos. Mega stuff Oreos. They were part of tribute last summer, and they will be again. Uh, Sarah says, Steve, do you like the film 101 Dalmatians? I do. Geese says, did you get pinched today? Happy St. Patty's Day. I haven't left this fainting couch. Manny says, do you know any movies similar to Princess Bride? I rewatched it yesterday and want more. I don't know what you mean by what. I don't know what aspect of it you want to be similar. Uh, so I have no idea. General, put a smile on your face. Generally like that, put a smile on your face. I mean, you could try The Iron Giant or the one of the greatest movies ever made, Lilo and Stitch. If that doesn't do it, I don't know what would. Elizabeth says, Happy St. Patrick's Day, Steve. Have you ever started reading a book that you thought was new to you and then realized you had read it before? It does happen to me with murder mysteries. Yeah. Uh, uh, Ida says, do you like any of the flavored Oreos? Not really, no. Street Medic says, my daughter lives a little village called Dawlish in the Devon coast, not far from Exeter. It's very picturesque. There are even cottages with thatched roofs. That reading guy says, maybe you should do a crowdfunding project for Odd Dog to make it worth your time, or maybe serialize it on your blog. Well, a crowdfunder I don't think would work. Surely a crowdfunder for any kind of project like Odd Dog would have about the same metrics of response as, for instance, my Substack. Right? I mean, surely the response wouldn't be astronomically greater than that, which means that I couldn't drop everything else that I'm doing. It wouldn't be enough for me to drop everything else that I'm doing and just work on that book for 10 hours every day. It wouldn't be enough for me to do that. Leo Percara says, is Stephen Ambrose fiction as good as his nonfiction? I'd say just about exactly as good. Yeah. That reading guy says, we need a blob watch just to invoke J. Scott Phillips. Oh, there's not much to look at for a blob watch, if I remember correctly. I think Boston might have something coming. Boy, oh boy, did we have wind last night. Good Lord, shaking the whole house. Yeah, okay, see, there you go. That big green thing moving offshore is what hit us last night. And then you've got this thing up here, which is marching our way. It will probably gain steam. It will probably gain strength when it crosses the Great Lakes. And I think that if we look at the forecast for Boston, I think that is reflected. I think that the weekend is going to have 3 or 4 days of rain. But that's not much of a blob watch. Not enough to summon Scotty. Alexandro says, did you see the one battle after another, and did you find it to be cartoonish steaming pile of coprolite? I saw it, and I felt exactly that about it. Yes. I knew that it would win. Manny says, I was thinking more of the fun, not serious sword and sorcery aspect of Princess Bride. Have you seen Lilo and Stitch? I find it hard to believe that anyone hasn't, but there are some heathens among you. Street Medic says, how far can you spit a watermelon seed? I think it should be an Olympic sport. Must Read More says, speaking of Stephen Ambrose, what do you think of his Nixon biographies? I'm not a fan of the man, as you can tell from the subtext of my answers here. Ida says, what is your opinion of Donna Tartt? Overrated? She's not overrated. She's overpraised because she's made a spectacle of how slowly she writes, but she's not overrated. Her books are very good. That reading guy says, your Substack is not the promise of a book, though. People want a book from you. Remember the response when Alex Rondo helped you with your collection of reviews? Well, I assumed that was because Alex is so sexy. I didn't know that had anything to do with me. But I don't know. I would have to know if a crowdfunded Odd Dog were to work. If the response were to be large, well, then I could quit everything else that I'm doing. If a big freelance project comes along with a contract dangled in front of me, I could say no. I'm okay. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do any Publishers Weekly, no industry reviews, and I don't have to do anything except work on this book. But I don't know that the response would be that. Amtrak says, did you like the recent Dracula movie? I did. Manny says, no, I have not. Do you mean the 2002 version? There's only one version of Lilo and Stitch. Okay. There's only one version of Lilo and Stitch. You haven't seen Lilo and Stitch? Well, okay. All right. There you go then. That reading guy says, maybe if you promise to serialize Odd Dog on your blog, more people would subscribe, especially if you posted chapters regularly. No. I want it to be a book. I'm not Trollope. I'm not a Trollope. Mystery and Mayhem says, I'm getting tired of being a different season every time I walk out the door. Yeah, yeah, it was winter on our walk this afternoon. Street Medic says, Dracula or Nosferatu? I'm assuming that the Nosferatu was meant. Must Read More says, I try to read Ambrose, Lewis, and Clark book. I just do not like it at all, but I've never been sure why. Maybe because it's not good. Undaunted Courage made enough money to float a kingdom. And every time I was handing a copy to a customer or finding a copy for a customer, I was saying to myself, never to them, I was saying to myself, God almighty, there's one born every minute. Why would you read this boring recap when you can read the journals of Lewis and Clark, edited by Bernard DeVoto? Why would you bother to do that when you can read the original? And there's a new book coming out on Lewis and Clark that is terrific. It's called The Vast Enterprise, and it's terrific. Um, anyway, that reading guy says, put out a feeler video, ask the people. People want a book by Steve. And we can end on that because I do want to do a book, and it's a good kick in the pants, definitely. We can stop on that for tonight. This was so much fun, except for the part where somebody threatened me with violence. Just sticking with me because I don't like that. It is too 20th century to be to get threatened with violence and just roll with it. Uh, I, that that is too 21st century. I am not a creature of the 21st century. That is anyway. Aside from that, this was all fun, but I have to wrap this up. I have to go, so I'm gonna end the stream here, and we will reconvene tomorrow. Well, no, another 150 of us will get together and see about whatever's on your mind. Thank you all, BookTube.